This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, they are out there on the pitch as Spain and France get set to go head-to-head in the World Cup semifinal. Your two short shots to win it all. As we discussed with Glenn Crooks a little bit earlier in the program, he feels, and I think most do, the winner of this game can go on to ultimately win it all. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. The book is packed, the vibes are vibing, and we are ready and officially underway out there in Dallas.
That's right. Under 2.5 is my play, so we are in. Let's do this thing.
We'll track it. I didn't have anything for this game, but at the end of the hour when we get into some of our best bets, I do have a play already in pocket for tomorrow's Argentina-England match. Also still to come this hour, we'll get into MLB All-Star discussion, NBA Summer League, one game in the W to preview as well. Interesting. I thought there were going to be two. I didn't realize that the start time for one of them was super early this morning, so the Sun have already beat the Fire today, 90-87. I thought that the Sun was Fire, neither here nor there. And a little college football talk, because our good friend Tim Murray had the college football Bible author Phil Steele on the program for his college football betting podcast this past week. We'll play a couple clips from him. He had some strong opinions on a few teams. Yep,
looking forward to hearing from him as I have the SEC for the guide, so I will be pilfering opinions and information from many people.
SEC and the MW.
Yep, the Mountain West.
The Mountain West. Their media day, by the way, out here in Las Vegas, set to get underway tomorrow. So we'll be talking more college football in the coming weeks. It's talking season. You will at the Palm?
Yeah, Wednesday and Thursday, I believe.
A little sad it's not here anymore.
Thursday, I believe, is going to be the day that I'm out there all day, or it's going to be for the show. I'll have to double check my schedule.
Oh, you're going to do the show from the Palm?
Yeah, I think it's Thursday.
Cool.
Yeah.
You going to the any of the surrounding events, like the media? What is it? It's called like a media. I don't know what it's called. It's at Ghost Bar or whatever.
Spit it out. I don't see. No, I'm not. Okay. I'm not connected like you. I don't get invited to Clutch Sport events and
clearly
events
I'm not.
At bars.
I'm very low on the Clutch Sports UTA totem pole.
Yeah, it hurts.
Considering I did not get a
so
plus
for those,
one.
Yeah, so for those who don't remember, last week Stormy unveiled that she was invited to the Clutch Sports event here Thursday night, I believe it was.
Yeah.
To which then I forced her, and she did, to your credit, I forced her to ask for a +1 so that I could go with, so we could find information on what's going to happen with LeBron James. And I thought you just did it where you were just like, okay, I'll do it, and then you didn't really send the email.
I sent you a screenshot.
I was going to say, but then you emailed me later and you sent me the screenshot, and they were like, no, sorry, no +1s.
Yeah. So, like I said, low on the totem pole. What are you going to do? But also, you tell me, how do you feel about going to an event like that by yourself? Like, that's uncomfortable. I don't know anybody really other than my agent. He's probably going to be busy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You'd have to. That's what I'm surprised you're not allowed a +1 because that is a very interesting.
Awkward.
Yeah,
but maybe it was just because it was too late. It was the day of.
You're supposed to network, Stormy.
If I had reached out earlier, maybe that would be the case. Like I said, though, we'll talk basketball a little bit later on in the show. I do want to real quickly get your thoughts on the All-Star game that we have coming up tonight, especially considering.
For the record, I'm listening.
No, I know. Yeah, for
our boss is very big on eye contact, but I just have to say that the TV's over here. But I am
for
listening.
our television audience. Yes, we have a television screen on the ground that has the World Cup on, so I'll allow the distractions.
This is
time
the benefit
around.
Of being the two, right? You have to pay attention. You've got to steer the ship. I do not.
I do actually have to actively look that way, whereas your face is just naturally tilted that direction in general. But we have the American League and National League going head to head here. The NL -135 favorite coming into today. I mentioned earlier we've seen some money come in on the over for this thing. It was sitting 7.5 yesterday. You felt that juice coming up. Now we're 8s across the board. There are some 8.5s popping. Guess 1 7.5. Although I didn't see that earlier. So you shop around, find the number that you're most interested in. I think that the over money makes sense, though, in a place like Citizens Bank Park on a warm night in July. How do you feel about the pitching matchup, though, when all is said and done?
I mean, I think that the National League has a little bit of an edge when it comes to the pitching overall. Now, it takes a little bit of a hit, obviously, with the losses of Ohtani and Mizorowski. So it's not as strong as it was before, but getting Christopher Sanchez out there, one would assume or hope that he is not going to be the guy that was coughing up 9 runs against Kansas City the other day, that you're going to get the all-star version of Sanchez out there. And just the overall depth with Chase Burns, Eduardo Rodriguez, Chris Sale, so many guys, Paul Skeens. So I kind of trust a little bit more what's coming out of the bullpen for both as starting pitchers and, of course, as relievers for the National League. It's what we've talked about in the NL Cy Young race for such a long time and just in general, and I do think that's going to reflect here today. So, to me, it's the National League, and I think it's a reason why they're favored.
On the American League side, AL Cy Young favorite Cam Schlittler ended up announcing on Sunday he wouldn't be pitching in the All-Star game, but this was after the decision reportedly had already been made from Blue Jays manager and AL skip John Schneider to go with his guy in Dylan Cease over in Toronto. Here was his thought process about making that decision.
I think if you look at the overall body of work this year, where he is in his career, the entire, body of work over the last 3 years, again, we're talking about 2026, but I think the evolution of him as a pitcher, again, I got to see it kind of up close and personal, but you're talking about leading the league in strikeouts, up there in innings pitched, quality starts, WAR. There was, a lot of categories that he was either at the top or second in, and I think that's what tipped it. It was performance. It was part of it was me seeing it up close every day, but we get to see a lot of guys up close, and I think Dylan's performance made him very deserving of this honor.
Also, he's my guy.
Yeah. A lot of people were upset about it.
Big word salad there.
I will say, though, if you look it up, he ranks third in ERA, first in strikeouts, FIP, opponent batting average, WAR on FanGraphs. Schlittler does have the edge on Baseball Reference for WAR, and the better ERA, obviously, and 20 more innings pitched. So do with that what you will. But I appreciated him at least trying to make the case for why he did that.
We have a little bit of drama here. The broadcast is cutting in. No, but it's been cutting in and out like that for a while now. So it's been a little bit of a nightmare for Fox early on for this broadcast so far. Like there was a
biggest match of the whole thing.
There was a set piece where the cross comes in and the screen just went black. You're just like, okay, what are we supposed to do here? But either way, look, I think Schneider's going to pick his guy. I don't think there's really any question about it. It's fine, whatever. It's an all-star appearance. Everybody's an all-star at the end of the day. But I'm sure that maybe ruffled some people the wrong way. And look, to your point too, Cease has been pretty good. The command has always been part of it, but the strikeouts have been dominant. The swing and miss stuff this year has been absolutely fantastic. And I think overall, I'm not going to dive headfirst into betting this thing in terms of laying like $130 on the National League, but I think they do deserve to be favored here, given the edge they have. And I think for the most part, the lineups are relatively even. I think you can make the argument maybe there's a little bit more depth to what the American League puts out there, but I don't think it's enough to throw me back in the other direction.
It's interesting, the National League, in terms of what they've actually shown throughout the course of the regular season to this point, has been far better at large. But for what you actually have in this game, relatively equal. And to your point, the depth for the American League is certainly there. You mentioned earlier with Adam the thought of maybe just throwing a dart for MVP today. Sure. How are you evaluating this market, where things sit?
I mean, there's not anybody that I think you're really running toward. I think it's just the fact that we talked about it. Look, why not just take a look at somebody coming off the bench for this thing if you're going to play MVP? I mean, you're maybe going to come in some high-leverage situations, maybe drive in a game-winning run, whatever it is. So I think that's something worth looking at. I'll point one guy out that you know very well, considering your fantasy team. James Wood, I believe, is not in the starting lineup today. He is going to be coming off of the bench. As Adam mentioned, you want some power as part of that because you want to be able to maximize your at-bat should you come off of the bench. But assume that Wood is going to be called at some point here, considering how well he's been hitting the ball. Why not James Wood at 25-1? What if he comes up with a couple of runners on in a one-score game and knocks a 3-run homer and eventually pulls away for the National League? So I think somebody like that, taking a little bit of a shot, 25-1, maybe a little bit longer, I think that's probably the way you want to go.
He's one of my two good players on my fantasy.
That's right.
All of two. One of which people have been trying to get. So that's the thing. Not that anybody cares about my fantasy team. I'm terrible at managing it. And so I've been having to seek the advice of great baseball minds to know what I should ask for things. And apparently I'm over asking. But I gotta do it.
Launch, what is it? Shoot for the moon. You'll land amongst the stars.
My team is so bad. You got to do what you got to do. When I was looking at this earlier, so your favorites on the board, by the way, Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper, both sitting at 13-1. I was looking at the people that have repeated because only 5 players ever have actually won multiple All-Star Game MVP, just one back-to-back, and it was Mike Trout in 2014 and 15. So maybe skip Schwarber of the two, Philly guys. If you wanted to go one way or the other, I would say maybe roll with Bryce Harper, especially considering the penchant for success he's had in big moments, right? He's a good playoff player, won his hometown home run derby in 18, home run in the World Baseball Classic final. If you did want to go with a favorite, I would give Harper the edge over Schwarber from that standpoint. Maybe if you want a fun storyline with Mike Trout hitting leadoff in his native of Philadelphia, something like that. But I mean, this is far from an exact science when you're looking at All-Star MVP.
If somebody's going to tell you that it's ridiculous, how about, can I give you Mason Miller at 80-1? You come out, close out the game, strikes out the side.
How often? I see historically, how often has that happened?
Don't ask questions you don't know the answers to.
I think that I would argue those are the questions you should be asking, no?
Not in broadcast.
Sorry, sir.
I have to go back and look. We did this yesterday on Pod of the Futures because we were talking about National League MVP and with Shohei Ohtani and the knee irritation. God forbid he starts to miss time. Like, what would you look at for NL MVP? And one of the names that was brought up was James Wood because he's been hitting the ball so well. But obviously the Nationals could miss the postseason. So I asked the question, when was the last time, because it looks like in the American League, Yordan Alvarez could win it, when was the last time both MVPs, AL and NL, missed the postseason? Right? It's got to be a long time ago. It was 6-7 years ago when Shohei Ohtani won it for the Angels and Bryce Harper won it for the Phillies. It actually was just like right around the corner.
That is funny how those things happen, though. Were you able to quick Google that on the
Mitch
recording?
ChatGPT'd it.
No, we got to stop with that.
I warned him. He got mad at me.
Well, at least I'm glad it appears this ChatGPT answer was correct. I've told you some of my horror stories asking questions. With sports things in particular, I think that those AI tools are particularly bad. The ones that you can input your own data for are great because it's just going off of your numbers and your information. But the World Wide Web at large, it is not well done. Let me just put it that way. And we keep going in and out of this broadcast. It's still happening for the World Cup semifinal. Scoreless in the 12th minute right now. We'll update you on it all when we return. Stick around. More money moves coming up after this. Shift into hoops, though, coming up.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Roll along here, Tuesday edition of Money Moves. He's JVT, Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Bonantoni with you live in downtown Las Vegas. We're still scoreless in the World Cup semifinals. That got underway from Dallas about 15 minutes ago. France and Spain going head to head. We will keep you updated on everything as it happens. Meanwhile, for now, let's talk a little hoops. We got NBA Summer League rolling on here in Las Vegas. Also, the WNBA season continues despite it being, a slow last couple days in sports in general. We still got the W going fast and furious. And how about our girl, Olivia Miles, who is out to a minus 5,000 favorite now to be the Rookie of the Year, doing work again?
I don't think you're allowed to claim her as your girl.
What do you mean? First time we talked about the WNBA on the show, period. I said, there's one thing I know about the WNBA right now, and it's that she's really good.
Yeah, and why is that?
Not from you.
Yeah, it is.
From the internet.
I showed you.
Not from you. From the internet.
Highlights.
You showed me highlights after the fact.
I showed you ridiculous.
You get zero credit for me watching Olivia Miles.
I showed you a ridiculous highlight from last night in which, in transition, she just blew by a defender who I was just standing in mud. But Miles, 33, Kayla McBride, 37. McBride ends up hitting a three-pointer, 45.1 left to give him a lead as a 12-point favorite, by the way. Had needed every bit of their effort to get that done. So I'm glad you brought up Miles. I didn't know you were going to do this at all. But I think Olivia Miles is a really interesting case for MVP. A'ja Wilson is probably going to run away with this. The betting market would say that is the case. But she's also been passed by Paige Beckers, and Beckers has been playing really well. But Beckers is 8-1, Miles is 9-1, and Miles is not slowing down really in any way, shape, or form. So I think ultimately this is all for naught. But it just goes back to what I say every single time with these MVP markets, Stormy. Give us some variations of it. Give us over-under finishing position.
Yeah.
Give us head-to-head finish on ballot. Wouldn't that be an interesting price in a market to handicap? Olivia Miles versus Paige Becker's finishing position on an MVP ballot. Those are the kind of things that I think I would like to see. That would be a lot of fun added to a betting menu. But I think that you can – one of those things where it's like, there's value in Olivia Miles. The reality is, I'm pulling this out of my rear end, but, she should be 34%, not 31%.
Sure.
And so you're just sitting on something that in reality is still not going to hit. But still worth pointing out that another 33-point effort for Olivia Miles for a team that continues to dominate at the top of the standings in the WNBA.
A'ja Wilson, odds on at minus 350 for MVP. Odds on as well for Defensive Player of the Year, minus 130, that number. Gabby Williams, your second shot for DPOY.
Defensive Player of the Year is interesting, too. Can you win Defensive Player of the Year as the best defender on a team that is currently 8th or 9th in defensive efficiency of the teams that exist in that league?
I don't think so, because you would have to elevate the floor, and it doesn't sound like you really are.
That's what my argument would be, and I don't think it's on A'ja Wilson. I just think the Aces are a really average defensive team to below average.
Is it just because she's her?
I mean, yeah, right. She's so good that she's just kind of carrying them. So it goes to my overall point. We talked about this on the pod as well, and I brought this up to you last week when we talked about it with Mike Palm. Why I bet the Valkyries to win the WNBA Finals. But also, I feel like this Aces team, and they deserve the benefit of the doubt because they are the Aces, and they did this last year, and A'ja Wilson's great, but they seem like a much more flawed team than I think people are giving them credit for. And I wonder if voters will just genuflect at the altar of A'ja Wilson, and rightfully so because she's so good, or will they look at some of the defensive metrics for the team overall and say, you know what, we can't really give Defensive Player of the Year to a team that, and I'll double-check the exact rating right now, that is currently 9th of 15 teams in defensive efficiency.
Do you have anything for the lone game remaining today? Mystics and Tempo going head-to-head. Can we call them your Tempo? Because, they're one of the teams that I know you've been hyping up as a potential playoff contender. Not contender to win it all, but to get into the playoffs. Yes.
Yeah, I think you could. I guess I'll call them my Tempo. They've been fun to watch. They've been invoking their namesake quite a bit with the way that they have been playing. Still the same injuries that they have been dealing with here in Kiki Rice and Brittany Sykes, so not really freaking out too much about whether or not they're going to be available. So what you see is what you get with this group. I'd lean a little bit toward the Tempo at home. I like this group overall, as we have discussed. They play up and down offensively, even with some of the injuries. They have shown that they still have some really strong upside here. If you remember, too, we talked about this. Remember, they're in the midst of this really long homestand. It was the game against the Valkyries last Wednesday that they stayed inside of that 8 against them, or 8.5. They did get beat up by Dallas, but came back and beat on Sunday the New York Liberty 93-91. So they've shown out. Maybe this is a letdown because you're coming off a big win over the Liberty over the weekend, but during the midst of a long homestand, coming off of a day off to take on Washington, I don't hate the opportunity here for them to get this thing done. And this is a big one because you're talking about the postseason and the standings and getting in or getting out of it. These are two teams that are directly in competition with one another. So maybe this leads to a tighter contest, tighter checking. But the Mystics are in control of the 8th spot right now. Tempo are about 2.5 games, 2 games out. So this would be a very big win for Toronto if they fancy themselves a playoff team.
Plus 110 on the money line for them as a home dog. Total in the game, 172.5. Let's shift gears to NBA Summer League out here in Vegas. When we were talking about the home run derby last night, you said you were a little bit busy out there at Thomas and Mack watching the games. You got to see Cam Boozer in person. The stars have really showed out, I feel like, so far in Summer League. Yeah, what's impressed you most about Cam?
Well, Cam's just really, up close. It's really interesting watching him, the way he actually handles the ball. He's a really good ball handler. I think a lot of people have made the comp to, not the comp, but have given him the potential ceiling of being a Jason Tatum type, which is a ball-handling wing who can do a little bit more than you think, and which is astounding, right? Because you think of him as like a power forward / college center, but that wasn't really his game, and he looks every bit of that up close. So really good passer, especially out of the post. He was getting double, triple-teamed a lot. He was actually, it's funny, where I was sitting, especially the first and third quarters, that's the direction they were playing, but they were getting, or excuse me, the first half, but he was getting really frustrated with some of the doubles that he was facing early on. But either way, I've been impressed with Boozer. Like you mentioned, Darren Peterson's had some really good games. DeBonce has been incredible. So much like the World Cup, the names that you went out to see have been out there and playing very well.
We got 6 games coming up today, including one, by the way, that's in about a little over a half an hour. The 76ers 3.5-point favorites against the Rockets, total 181.5. That spread, by the way, down a point. So it was a 4.5-point spread, now 3.5. Anything people should know?
No, not that I know of, at least. Double check. So this is the time time of the summer league that you're looking at, and you've got to make sure you know who's going to play and who's not.
Yeah.
But I made this case. I was on the DraftKings Daily Podcast with Julian Edlow earlier today, and we were discussing just betting game to game in the summer league. And one of the things that I think is worth pointing out is I do think some of these teams with either name value or that just get off to good starts generally get power rated really high really quickly. So yesterday's a really good example. The Pistons go off as about 9-point favorites against the New York Knicks because they had gotten off to this start. We have a penalty kick right here, by the way, between France and Spain. So this is a very big opportunity, and the Spanish strike first.
Wow.
1-0 in the 22nd minute. Big deal here for Spain to go up over the French. Sweating out this under. Oh, boy. Don't like that. Come on. I want to score this first half. Yep. But the whole point here being is that I do think these teams, and I brought up the Knicks and the Pistons. Stormy, the Pistons get off to a good start. They get up to a 9-point favorite over the Knicks. They lose by 9. So I think there is some it's really difficult to evaluate these teams. They were just put together. You can know what these players do, but for the most part, you don't know what they're looking for. So I do think that there is, I would say, tread lightly if you're betting game to game, and also just make sure who's playing. So we talk about Memphis, for example. Memphis is playing Golden State today. Golden State is a 7.5-point favorite, 186.5. I haven't seen it yet. I would assume the expectation, second leg of a back-to-back for Memphis, that Cam Boozer, maybe Cedric Coward, maybe Taylor Hendricks are all not going to play here for them. Two of those guys part of a NBA rotation just this last year. So I do think that when you look at this, you're probably expecting that they're not going to play. Remember that Grizzlies have been playing in the Salt Lake Summer League as well, so they've got a lot of run on them, so they want to give their guys some rest. But so do have the Warriors. Warriors have been part of the California Classics. You don't know who's going to play for them either. 7.5 seems like a lot, and there's a lot of expectation. Look at that French kid crying. That the Warriors are going to be able to blow them out, but just tread lightly, because this was as low as 3.5.
Is that the little kid that's a player's brother?
I have no idea. I just know that there was a small child weeping, and that was hilarious.
I'll have to Google that in the commercial break. But there's been like a kid who's a player's brother who's gone.
You're way more into that stuff than I am.
Famous.
You love the narrative stuff.
I do want to remind you, though, as the sports calendar rolls on, we've got the World Cup ongoing. Major League Baseball will be back before you know it. WNBA, all of these things. Sports calendar never stops, and Sharp Plays has been covering it all. They've been winning for 15 straight years. All of it documented, logs posted publicly over at sharpplays.com as well. That kind of transparency we know can be rare in the industry. So remember this, when the Sharp Plays move, the sports books take notice. They've got advanced AI, trusted insider intel, finding value before numbers shift. Start winning with them at sharpplays.com. Again, check it out today, sharpplays.com. I know we'll have best bets at the end of the hour, but was there anything you ended up contemplating or actually betting in
No, I'm going to interrupt
today?
this for a second because I finally got my eyes on what drew the penalty here for Spain. I'm going to show this to you. This is absolute insanity. Lamine Yamal just runs into the box and tries to head a ball, and he gets kicked by a French player who's also playing the same ball, and he draws the penalty on this. That is absolutely what? That is an insane way to call a penalty in a box. So, again, Yamal essentially just runs into a guy who's already in the midst of his kicking motion.
Yeah. And that was a penalty on France for kicking Yamal.
Yeah.
That's wild. This sport, man. I don't want to be that person because I know
if it was fixed, it would be fixed for the French.
We're the pig-brained Americans, all of that, I understand. But it's stuff like that that's really
So the full
bothersome
scope of the
about
play
the
makes
sport.
it look even worse. It's a Spanish cross to which the French guy actually gets some possession of and puts it up, and he is then drawn.
So how is that a penalty on him?
That's crazy, dude. That is not great.
Ay, caramba. And they score on it.
Yep.
So Spain up 1-0 in the semifinal. As an underdog, by the way, France closed minus 140 ultimately to advance. Okay, we got to step aside here. We will continue to update you on all things World Cup when we return, but more football and football. College football season is upon us. We'll discuss when we return.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Spain, who was a plus 120 dog to advance, plus 220 dog on the 90-minute line, currently up over France, 1-0 here in the 30th minute. Mikel Oyarzabal with the goal in a super bizarre penalty in the box that we were discussing at the end of last segment. So keeping tabs on this as we go. You have the under 2.5. Not loving a goal coming that early.
No, so hopefully we can get out of here with just the one goal, obviously. And maybe, look, I'll take a Spanish 1-0 win. It'd be right in their wheelhouse, right? That's what they've been doing this entire tournament.
If you believe, meanwhile, that the French, who were odds on to advance prior to that goal being scored, if you believe they can get back in this thing, plus 140 now the price available for them ultimately to qualify. It's a pretty good price on France.
I mean, you got to make up 2 goals against the best defense in the field.
But it's not the 90 minutes to qualify.
No, I'm just, well, but still, you got to win, right?
Yes.
And you're down 1-0.
But that's 1 goal, hypothetically.
And then penalty kicks.
And then penalty kicks, yeah.
So why not just bet
Why would that
France
not be
to
doable?
win via PKs?
You could do that too.
Mm-hmm.
That's an option, but I'm just saying plus 140 is
More
is
than
the live
likely,
line.
you're going to have to ask them to overcome 2 goals, though.
Which, I mean, their team total was over 1.5 that took
Yeah.
90% of the money. So people certainly believe that France is capable of scoring.
There's one problem, though. They don't have Oyarzabal on their roster. So
Yeah, we did some research in the commercial break that with the Spain pronunciation, the
So
Z
ridiculous.
is the TH sound for his last name. There we go. I'm proud of us.
the Azul.
We did well. We did well. Let's get into a little college football talk because last week, I think, was our first true kind of dive into college football coverage. Tomorrow, I believe tomorrow, we'll begin to unveil our college football top 25.
Don't do that.
What do
Don't
you mean?
do that.
Don't do what?
We'll do that.
Okay.
I like how this
That's
is,
sure.
put all the work on one person and just be
Well,
like, I think we're going to do
So
this.
here, all the work on one person. I did
Explain to
all
our
of the
audience.
legwork.
Explain to our
Okay,
audience.
so
all of the legwork. Okay.
So
You did a third of it.
JVT and I are putting together a Money Moves college football top 25.
As
so
we
it
did
is
last year.
As we did last year, it is our 2 opinions on what our top 25 would be entering the college football season. It's an exercise, yes, we did last year. We do the reveal from 25 all the way to 1. JVT was on me. Like you repeatedly brought it up last week. Hey, don't
Remind
forget,
you, yeah.
you do make your top 25, then I'll compare and we'll go back and forth. I have yet to receive any of your notes.
Yes.
This was a week ago now that I have given you my top 25.
It has not been a week.
Almost. It was Tuesday of last week.
That's a lie.
But
I
yeah,
don't
it was.
believe
It was
that.
Tuesday or Wednesday because I had it in my calendar that I had to do.
Oh, okay.
It was Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. So we are 6 days or 7 from when I had given this to you.
Mm-hmm.
And we are starting it tomorrow, and I've yet to receive any info from you.
Maybe
on
we'll
this.
push it back a day.
Well, the plan is to start it tomorrow. The actual AP Top 25 will drop on August 17th. We will be done with our reveal well beyond that, as Brett McMurphy posted on X yesterday. Plan your outrage accordingly. So it'll be a fun exercise to do. We'll give you betting angles throughout, preview 2 teams per day, pretty in-depth as we go there. But with kind of the college football talk percolating, we did a lot of Big 12 last week with media days. The Mountain West and ACC will begin their media days this week as well. So we'll continue that. But also Tim Murray, want to give him a shout out. He has been still throughout the entirety of the offseason, still doing his college football betting podcast and had some really great guests. This past week, he had Phil Steele on, who writes like the preview Bible for anybody that follows college football each and every year. And one team that he discussed as a potential surprise team in 2026-27 was the Alabama Crimson Tide. Take a listen.
They've got a new quarterback this year, but they had a new quarterback last year. And I like both Keelan Russell and Austin Mack at the quarterback spot. I think whichever one wins the job, they're in good shape. And if one of them gets injured, they're in really good shape in the backup spot. I mean, Mack is 6'6", 232. He knows the system inside and out. He was with offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb back at Washington. And then Russell was one of the top QBs coming out of high school last year. He was just a true freshman last year. Now he's experienced. I like that position. And defensively, they're really good, especially in the secondary. They got 3 NFL caliber guys in the secondary, and Xavier Brown, Bray Hubbard, and Keon Saab. And then you look at the schedule this year. You know, the Georgia game I rate as a toss-up, but let's keep in mind, they went on the road and beat Georgia last year, and now they get them at home. Tennessee, I rate as a toss-up, but that's a very winnable game for them. They've had great success against Tennessee. And then at LSU, I rate as a toss-up, but, you know, Alabama's more of a homegrown team than LSU is. And I think LSU, if you're looking for an overrated team at the start of the year, I believe they'll be a preseason AP top 10 team. I don't think to be a preseason AP top 10 team at the end of the year. So I think Bama's got a really good shot at surprising a lot of folks. And I think the over-under on them is all the way down to 8.5 or something like that. I would be all over that over 8.5 with Alabama.
I think I would tend to agree. I think one of the things I would point out about the schedule, and you do get them at home at the end of the year, but I think Auburn's going to be pretty solid this year. Mm-hmm. They might have.
And those rivalry games can always be tricky.
Correct. So you have an opponent that I think might be a little underrated, and the randomness and variance of football and a rivalry game at that, which we have seen many times before. Worse Auburn teams take down better Alabama teams and vice versa. So outside of that, though, I would completely agree. I would even go so far as to say I think the road game against Tennessee is more winnable than what Phil's putting out there. I just don't know if Tennessee is going to be a great defensive team overall. So I like everything they have in front of them. The schedule sets up pretty nicely for them. No overtly daunting road trips at all outside of the game on the road against LSU. So I think that this is a group that definitely can do some damage in the SEC for sure. Big if is whether or not quarterback pans out, but I think you trust Kalen DeBoer to figure that out, whoever wins the job, like Phil Steele said.
Well, and to the point, they haven't decided officially or announced who the starting quarterback will be, but the market certainly has their feel of who it's going to be. Keelan Russell, 28-1 for Heisman compared to Austin Mack, who's at the 60-1 longer shot there. And to Phil Steele's point, he has had all the 5-star hype. He has the kind of upside that has gotten fans really, really excited about it. There were even people last season, if you remember, that when Ty Simpson was named the starting quarterback, we're still screaming from the mountaintops about wanting to see what Keelan Russell looked like and give him more of an opportunity. He wasn't ready last year, and I think a lot of the reports that we've seen from the outside about Alabama football is that he has matured, he has learned a lot, and he's ready to take that step this season. Defense concerns me just a little bit when you lose 7 starters and key leaders, so there's some big shoes to fill. But a team that I was very excited in a season ago that didn't live up to the billing, now in year 3 of Kalen DeBoer, do you take the step? Do you make the CFP? Do you contend for a national title? That's always the goal at Alabama, but can you actually do it this year? I don't know if I can pull the trigger on the Tide after they let me down so much last season.
Yeah, I mean, but considering it's a new year, I'm with you. I think there is some sort of fear that might be the case. But at 25-1 for an SEC power like Alabama, who should be competing, should be winning a lot of these games, and we'll get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to committee time too. Right, so you're going to get likely against some other opponents, you'll get a more of an opportunity to get a seat at the table should it come down to resume and whatnot.
Another team that hasn't had the recent success but has the cachet, the Clemson Tigers, and Phil Steele said this is a team that should be better than people think as well.
Yeah, and that's how I wrapped up the call with Coach Sweeney. I'm like, hey, Coach, you're back to being little old Clemson. Remember we used to do that when they played Alabama? He said, oh, we're just little old Clemson, and we're taking on Alabama. And then, boom, they'd end up playing for the title game. And he agreed. He was happy with that situation. And the things I like about Clemson, first of all, they underachieved last year, let's face it. But if you take a look at the, statistically, they were pretty good. In fact, in conference play, they were plus 66 yards per game for a 4-4 team. I mean, generally when you're plus 66 yards per game in conference play, you're 6-2, maybe even 7-1. Then you look at the schedule. I do have a slight underdog against Miami and a slight underdog against LSU, but I'm favored all the rest of their games. So you're telling me the over-under is 7.5 on Clemson this year?
Yep, 7.5.
I'm going to play the over on that, Tim.
They would agree. I mean, now it's interesting because I think we've seen a small decline in just the overall talent on the roster in general under Sweeney. And, we've talked a lot about his, I guess disdain might be for the transfer portal and really revamping and building through it. But this does seem to be a team on the surface that has some signs of potentially taking a step forward. And that's a really good statistic. When you're out gaining your opponents on average by over 60 yards, you should be better. And so there are some buy signs for Clemson. But that was last year's team. This is a slightly different team. And then, of course, you have a very big question as to who your quarterback's going to be because Cade Klubnik is on the New York Jets.
Well, they did make it official, though, that Christopher Vizina will be QB1. There was a discussion with he and Tate Reynolds. Reynolds, the younger, up-and-coming player. I think Vizina is, fair to say, more of a bridge quarterback, but a guy who has been the backup, worked his way up at Clemson in the background, 4-year guy, redshirt junior. 14 games appearance-wise, just 1 start, but lots of experience in the system. You bring in a new, but old, offensive coordinator in Chad Morris, but same system, same plan. So you would imagine the verbiage isn't going to take too long to get set and refigured. But I understand the excitement for Clemson. The ACC is such an interesting league, and I'm excited to preview this a little bit more as we go this week because last year, obviously, your champion doesn't make the college football playoff. They're held out because of what JMU is able to do. Miami is your leader in the clubhouse, but are they and Cristobal the most trustworthy team, even though they are coming off a national championship appearance? There's a lot of questions, I think, in the league.
Yeah, of course. Well, and it's top heavy again. Like the depth of the ACC does not look particularly great. Then obviously you have the new face, or the big new face, with Virginia Tech and what that's going to look like with Franklin. So that's going to be another interesting player at the table, too, because one would assume there's some upside there.
Yeah, this will be a fun couple weeks. We mentioned ACC, Mountain West, Sun Belt Media Days all getting underway this week. And we'll have some NFL training camps, rookies reporting for both the 49ers and Seattle Seahawks at the end of the week. So we are in the season before the season for football, that is for sure.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Whether you are betting futures, win totals, division races, MVP, Rookie of the Year, Super Bowl odds, we've got the VSiN NFL Betting Guide out now to help you get ahead of the market before training camps get underway. Inside, you'll find breakdowns of all 32 teams, projected win totals, best bets, and analysis from all of our VSiN show hosts and experts. Get it today with our football special for just $175, and the sooner you sign up, the more value you get. Full access to everything we do across every sport through the Super Bowl. That includes daily best bets, real-time bet splits from DraftKings and Circa, AI-powered prop projections, and 24/7 video, all on the VSiN Watch app. You want to learn more? You want to sign up? Come join us on a full-time basis. Head over to vsin.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. And while by the end of July, we will have every single team having reported for training camp, we've got a couple that are going to get underway this weekend. The 49ers and Seahawks having rookies report early. And then this thing will be off and running. So football season will be here before you know it. You wrote up a division, AFC East, I believe, in this year's betting guide that's out now. We both had a handful of bets in it. Go check it out if you haven't already. It is absolutely awesome. And the college football betting guide will be here soon.
Yes, it will be. Deadline sneaking up on us here.
I know. We got the email today from Adam. I get scared.
Yeah, I think I've got 10 days or something like that to finish my stuff.
You've been working diligently on it, though.
I have. So hopefully we are ahead of schedule. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Maybe I'll just goof off today. But either way, I do have a lot of work this week, too, at the Summer League in town. But
you got to focus on the top 25 rankings first, then you can get back to that, okay?
Adam, you heard it. I'm being told that I have to focus on something that is not the college football betting guide.
At least pick your bottom 5 in the top 25. Can you at least do that part of the exercise?
Who says I
so
haven't
you can
already?
Get the first couple days done. That's what I think is the most interesting. I'll say, and I know we'll talk about this more as we go this week and throughout the coming weeks as we do our reveal, that the teams that could crack the top 25 at the bottom, there are so many that you could slot into that, in my opinion. I mean, it's
UMass?
the preseason, too. No, maybe not the Minutemen.
Not the Minutemen? You're going to make Boston Steph mad.
She knows what they are. She knows. That said, I found it to be a much more challenging exercise than I anticipated before I did it. So I'm excited to see what you ultimately put together. That said, while we're waiting for football,
all these comments.
We do have a lot of other things. The story of my life. It's like usually 2 hours. It's usually 2 hours of me getting these comments from you. It
implies that I have not put anything together.
It's nice to be in the driver's seat for once. That said, we are still 1-0 in the World Cup semifinal that is underway right now on Fox. Spain in the driver's seat in the 48th minute here.
I would just like to point out, I do think the Spanish have been, they had another really big opportunity that they had missed earlier in this contest, too, that they were inches away from going up 2-0 in this match. So Spain right now, we're watching them. They're on the attack on the other end, but this has been tilted ice to an extent from what I've been watching a little bit here. So we'll see if the French can find an opportunity here.
And if there's one thing we know about Spain, there's been nobody better at possessing the football here in the World Cup. 60% possessions, the best passing team in the world as well to this point. We will have, or I will have, when we get to our best bets in a moment, a play on tomorrow's match coming up between Argentina and England. Wow. That said, for now, we have a lot of other stuff going on, including the NBA Summer League, which rolls on here from Vegas, and we got some news for one of the league's biggest stars.
We did. AJ Bonsa being shut down. So this is what we're talking about, right? Make sure you know, because you just have no idea who's going to play, who's not. You want to make sure that you have a good sense of who's going to be out there. And look, the Wizards can obviously still go out there and win this game, but we're seeing that move in that direction because they were up to as high I want to double check to see what the peak of this number was because I believe the highest was 5. 5. And now we're down to about 2.5. So the thought was against Chicago, Caleb Williams has been playing a ton, that maybe on the second leg of back-to-back, the Bulls were not going to play their guys, but the Wizards with Bonza and a short sample size and shelf life in the Summer League was going to be out there for one more. It's not the case. Not only are they done here today, they're done for the rest of the Summer League, which also goes to, I brought this up to Edlow because he was asking about futures in the Summer League. We are in great shape with our Atlanta Hawks.
Beautiful.
3-0 start, second best point differential. So actually, technically, the best point differential amongst 3-0 teams. Ask me how many 3-0 teams there are.
How
One.
many? Wowie.
Just the Hawks. But they're whatever. Anyway, we're in a good spot, and the Wizards were one of the futures aspects. Like, hey, do you want to play them? And my response to Edlow was, well, Bonza might get shut down. I think you want to go with a team like the 76ers instead. If you're just getting into the futures pool here in the Summer League, they could be 3-0 after today. They are favored to win their game against Houston, and they've got guys on their roster, LeBaron Philon and others, John Broome, that I think are going to play the entirety of the Summer League. So that is not a risk that you're taking when you're looking at some of the guys that are playing there, and maybe worth having. And they could be 3-0 after today as well.
76ers 3.5-point favorites against Houston, total 181.5. And then the aforementioned Wizards today, still 2.5-point favorites against the Bulls, total 182.5 there as well.
Last note on the Summer League I wanted to bring up, and I'm actually interested locally today. We're going to have an hour with UNLV head coach Josh Pastner, so it'll be interesting to pick a basketball brain on this. So I don't know if you remember or know, but they have this new free throw rule at the NBA Summer League. So
it's something they've had in the G League for
Correct.
a while, right?
Yep.
But now they're trying to test it out at Summer League.
So the rule is, to refresh anybody, it is the points awarded on the free throw, it is one free throw. So for example, if you get fouled on a 3-point shot and you miss, you take one free throw, that free throw is worth 3 points. Subsequently, 2-point shot, you miss, that free throw is worth 2 points. So it's a single free throw for the amount of points that you are awarded. The thought is to speed up games, potentially. But then you get certain games, like yesterday when Caleb Wilson leaves 14 points on the floor because he misses 5 free throws or whatever it is, or a few free throws, and you're like, okay, here we go. But I think the interesting aspect of it, too, is
very detrimental for a bad foul shooter.
Sure, but what if you're a good shooter?
Sure.
So, let's say the extreme example I keep using is, let's say you're like a 90-ish% free throw shooter. Now, somebody please, I am legitimately asking for math help here, so don't sit there and go, you're an idiot. No, I'm asking. But I believe the way percentages work is, even though you're a 90% free throw shooter, let's say you get 3 shots at the line, it's not a 90% chance you're going to make all 3. Mm-hmm. But if you're a 90% three-point shooter, now it's a 90% chance that you're getting those 3 points because it's a single free throw. So my whole point here is, and I'll have the actual details on this tomorrow. I was going to go through everything as well as our top 25 to put all the results together. But to my eye and to the results, it would seem that we're having a higher scoring Summer League. We saw the Trailblazers drop 111 yesterday. We saw multiple 190 total point games between the two teams. 180 points is regularly being touched here at this point. And so I wonder if that is also part of it, where you're getting these guards and other players who are pretty decent free throw shooters now don't have to make 2 to get 2 points. They only got to make 1. And so I think that's helped not only speed up the games, but it's also helped with some of the scoring, and we're seeing some high-scoring games. So, again, I'll have details on that tomorrow, because I don't want to make the declarative statement that scoring is up in the Summer League, and then I'm going to pull the numbers, and it's like, 60% to the under. But I do think that that's something worth expanding on tomorrow for sure.
The rationale for it, by the way, is just to speed up pace of play, like they're trying to do in every sport right now.
Which is interesting because the NBA has an injury problem, and what is the reasoning by some? That the games are too quick, that these guys are putting too many miles on their bodies, and so the NBA's response is, let's speed these bad boys up.
Interesting. Okay, last couple minutes here. Let's recap the bets. Look ahead to what we are adding into the account for me, because I wasn't here yesterday. We'll grade the weekend. Cash the Spain money line and Max Holloway parlay. That second leg came in a little bit easier than I anticipated it to be. End up losing the Lionel Messi anytime goal for that quarterfinal match for Argentina, but still a profitable day between the two because we got the plus money we did on the parlay. As for today, I am adding Argentina and England, both teams to score. Obviously, that game will be tomorrow, but today's match between Spain and Argentina, between Spain and France, I thought was interesting that both teams to score was minus 160, yet the match tomorrow with two significantly worse defenses was only minus 115. Argentina, you look at the 3-2 win over Cape Verde, down 2-0, should have been 3-0 against Egypt. Didn't play great against Switzerland. I don't love the matchups for them in general with Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham, who have come alive in the tournament. And yet, I still think offensively, we know both of these teams are certainly capable. So both teams to score for me at what I felt was a relatively cheap price tomorrow.
Where did you watch the McGregor fight? Because you were at the concert, right? You didn't watch it?
No, so I didn't watch it live, but my husband is a big UFC person, so we have a lot of friends that work there, and we pulled it up on Paramount Plus when I got home because I didn't want to see any social media about it or anything. I wanted to watch it when I got home, and
did he do the same thing?
Chris
or
comes
did
home.
he know?
He knew. He watched it, but he was like, "I'm just going to tell you, you're going to be sorely disappointed." I was like, "Well, I saw that my bet cashed. Like I was in my betting app and I saw I had more money in the account, so." Yeah. Clearly he won. He's like, yeah. And so then we ended up watching it, and to see the 2 fights that everybody was talking about be done in less than a minute is a little bit crazy.
I watched this in a very packed casino sports book where of the estimated, I don't know, whatever, we'll say 200 people there, 13 were cheering for Max Holloway.
Oh, really?
And you should have heard, it was like
and
somebody
yet the price still got driven up.
And it's like the air got sucked out of the room. Oh my God, it was actually incredible to watch.
You're lucky I wasn't there. I would be like, woo, woo.
Yeah, well, I mean, but in the moment, you don't really understand what's happening.
Well, and that's not how you want it to be.
Right.
Either.
John Brown said that too. We were talking about that because he had Holloway as well. And I just, you're watching it, and he just starts pointing at McGregor, and I'm like, well, what's happening? Because you don't understand.
Holloway went like this. He's like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. And I was like, why? Well, there's no injury. What is he talking about? And sure enough, it was such a weird way to win something.
Yeah, for sure. That sucked. Meanwhile, the Paddy Pimblett was
good.
That was a pretty good on him. I didn't see that ending the way that it did, and he was obviously an underdog in that fight. The flyweight bout, and forgive me, I am not great with names. That one was the best fight of the whole thing.
Which one was this one?
I just said I don't remember their names.
Oh, well, then when are you going to tell me that?
But that was the best. That was the best fight. I mean, you should know it was the best fight of the card.
I was distracted.
Green? Is that what
Oh, yes, the ridiculous finish for Green, too. Yeah, King Green and Terrence McKinney, yeah.
With the comeback, like, unbelievable.
I thought he was going to lose.
Yes, I thought he was dead.
Gut shot.
I thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're done.
We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Thanks for hanging out.